Thank you, Esther, and thank you to all of you. What an honor to stand before you today and a privilege to speak to all of you. Okay, I see my time clock is here, and I see so many warm and familiar faces. Esther is right. I do have a professional role. Team in the back, do we have the right one up? That's right. Perfect, yes. So what I like to say is, yes, I have this professional role as the Director of Caregiver Support Services for the Massachusetts General Hospital Frontal Temporal Disorders Unit. But I didn't come to that role with a job description. It was a love story that started my path to the stage today. So here is a picture of my husband, Mike, and I on our wedding day. I was 22 and Mike was 23. I still remember our first date. Mike came to my dorm to pick me up. He had a backpack with a blanket and a bottle of red wine and some big red party cups. And we went to the campus soccer field to look at the stars. We were talking for hours. And even though that night was heavy with the promise of romance, I had to tell my roommates that he was too shy to even hold my hand on the way back to the dorm. So we got busy with building our lives. I went on to graduate school and got a master's in public policy and nonprofit management. Mike got his master's degree in philosophy. We had jobs that were turning into careers. And just before our 5th wedding anniversary, we found out that our love was too big for just 2 people. And our son Noah was on the way. I mean, the whole reason for this slide is just the shameless, gorgeous baby photo in the center. Just love it so much. And, you know, we turned our first little starter home, our condo, into a 3-bedroom home in a lake community. We were connected with family and friends, and it was just everything that we were looking for. So it was during my pregnancy and those early months with Noah where I started to notice changes in my sweet, outgoing, incredibly intelligent husband. So Mike and I had always loved Harry Potter. Who here has read Harry Potter? Knows, yes, right? Well, we'd read all the books, but then Mike became obsessed with the Harry Potter audiobooks. It's 117 hours of audio from the opening line of the first book all the way to the end of the 7th. He was so addicted to them that even when I was in active labor with our son Noah, I said, "Take those earbuds out of your ear. I'm about to have our baby." Pretty strange. I started to get phone calls from his friends saying, "Hey, is Mike mad at me? He never wants to hang out." He would meet up with friends and then leave immediately. He was very impulsive, telling me, "Oh, I found a place with cheap gas." And so he would drive to a gas station, buy 1 gallon of gas, and then come home. He racked up $28,000 on a credit card. And Mike, a man who could translate texts from Hebrew, Greek, and Latin, one day we were making a grocery list, and he couldn't spell the words rice or avocado. So I started, I was sharing these things with the people who were close to me, and my mom said to me, "When you go to his annual physical appointment, you have to go with him and ask his doctor if there's something wrong with his brain." So I went to that appointment, and I said to the physician, I said, "My husband is acting so weird. Could he have a brain tumor?" And she said, "No, I think it's just depression." And she was the first of 8 medical and mental health professionals to misdiagnose Mike. Mike saw 2 primary care physicians, 3 counselors, 2 psychiatrists, and 1 neurologist in the span of 6 months. He stayed overnight at the hospital and spent a week in a secure psychiatric unit. He had many tests until I brought him to Boston, where he saw an expert and was accurately diagnosed with behavioral variant frontotemporal dementia at the age of 29. In the background, Mom had been telling me things about Dad that were also weird. My dad was incredibly mild-mannered, and Mom started telling me these stories where Dad was incredibly agitated. He had anger, he had road rage, so unlike Dad. He had his first negative performance review at work. He got lost on the way to dinner at my sister's house. And when you spent time with Dad, he would tell you the same stories over and over. Here are my lovely parents, Tom and Diane. Noah's about 5 months old in this picture, looking as gorgeous as ever, right? And, Mom was just such a great partner in this journey to figure out what was going on with these men that we loved. And Mike was diagnosed on a Friday. Of course, Mom and I were talking throughout the weekend, and that Monday night, we'd been on the phone for 1 hour and 13 minutes. And she said to me, "The baby is sleeping. You should be sleeping. Go to bed. I'll talk to you in the morning." And Mom went to bed and had a heart attack and died in her sleep that night. And 17 days after Mom passed away, Dad had a follow-up appointment with the same neurologist who had accurately diagnosed Mike. And that neurologist told me that my dad had Alzheimer's disease. So at the age of 29, I found myself in charge of 2 adult men with progressive neurological disorders leading to dementia and my infant son. I made the choice to leave my career in the child welfare industry, and that choice had swift financial repercussions for our family. I lost that 3-bedroom home to foreclosure. I spent every dime of our retirement savings, and I benefited from the social safety net of EBT SNAP benefits for food assistance, Social Security to keep the lights on, and Medicare and Medicaid to provide health care. Mostly, this identity shift caused my brain to go into overload. And this slide is meant to be busy and overwhelming. And you'll notice that in the center it says caregiver mind, because nowhere on this slide do you see play dates or pediatrician appointments or a mammogram for myself. This was like every day I would wake up and it was like triage. Who needs me the most? What paperwork do I have to fill out? Who do I have to talk to? How long am I going to have to wait on the phone today? And it's not surprising that I was feeling overwhelmed, because in my work today, I have the opportunity to present to healthcare professionals, medical students, neurology fellows, and I tell them, when you give a diagnosis of Alzheimer's, FTD, or a related dementia, you're actually giving a dual diagnosis. Because being a caregiver to a loved one living with dementia is a threat to your emotional, physical, and financial well-being. We know that caregivers of loved ones living with dementia have higher rates of depression, anxiety, substance abuse, cardiac conditions, and chronic health conditions related to stress. We have to ask ourselves, what can we do to vaccinate our caregivers from a disease that isn't even contagious, but it affects everyone who loves the person with the diagnosis? We do not yet have a cure for dementia, but we do have a cure for the isolation and loneliness that can come with a diagnosis. finding strength and support. When I was done with my Social Security applications and got my Medicare cards in the mail for our family, I thought, I need to figure this out. And the very first thing that I did was legal and financial planning. I found a mental health provider who miraculously had had experience with dementia. And I joined a support group. And these things were possible because I had guidance. I still remember the very first phone call I made to the AFTD helpline, and the voice on the phone belonged to Sharon Denny. Sharon, can you give a wave? Sharon, thank you. She was so kind to me, and for sure, it was the first time that I felt like, oh, someone understands what I'm saying. And I've included the Alzheimer's Association helpline here because that helpline is open 24/7, 365 days a year. And they want to help us too. It is incredibly important if you have FTD to be connected with the FTD community, but also for you to know that there are other organizations that care about your family's journey. And remembering that just because dementia has come into your life, it doesn't mean that joy has to go out. Despite dementia's looming presence, we figured out how to be a family. And this was because of the incredible staff at the skilled nursing facility who supported our goal of family time, which was the #1 goal listed on Mike's care plan. This picture was taken, this one, was taken at the end of one of our family visits, where always they would assign a staff person to support us. And we'd have a snack and do a shared activity like blowing bubbles or bouncing a basketball. Noah would hide and we would pretend to seek. And shortly before this picture was taken, Noah picked up that stick and he came over and whacked Mike on the head with it. And I freaked out. I was like, Noah, we don't hit Daddy in the face with sticks. I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. And then I realized Noah and Mike were locked eye to eye in a huge belly laugh, and they were experiencing a moment of joy, making a new memory as father and son. And if someone had asked me when I was pregnant or when Noah was brand new, hey, do you think if your son hits your husband in the head with a stick, it will be one of the most precious memories of your family time together? I would say, I don't know what you're talking about. And it's this idea of how can we figure out how to be present, to be open to experiencing love and joy and new memories, even though FTD is trying to take so much of that away. At this time in caregiving, as Mike progressed, the weight of care was starting to take its toll on me. I entered my triple S era, which is when I was skinny, speckled, and sad. And it was hard to get through each day. I developed chronic hives all over my body, lost weight, and just found that it was tough to be happy. But every day I was waking up to this face. Who wouldn't be happy? So I had to figure it out. You know, as Mike entered hospice, I hired a housekeeper for the first time, and I thought, God, why did I wait so long? You know, I ramped up the hours that I had a home care provider helping with Dad. I hired the most amazing babysitter in the world, Mari Mitchell, who could get Noah in bed, have Dad take his meds, and the house would be clean when I came home. And it prepared me for the road ahead. His heart was leaping against his ribs like a frantic bird. Perhaps it knew it had little time left. Perhaps it was determined to fulfill a lifetime's beats before the end. Mike passed away on April 19th, 2012, at the age of 33. Just 3 years after his diagnosis, 21 days after our son Noah turned 4, and only months before we might have celebrated a decade of marriage. Mike lost the ability to speak, walk, and swallow, but he never lost his voice. As Mike's wife, I was his biggest advocate. And when Mike passed away, my first act of advocacy as his widow was to donate his brain. After Mike passed away, I realized that I couldn't move on, but I had to figure out a way to move forward. And I found a book that my mom had given me, Chicken Soup for the Soul. Who's read that? Yes. And on the inside cover, she said, "Someday you will have stories of your own that will give you inspiration. Write them down. We all need to be reminded that love is out there." And this emboldened me to launch an education and awareness campaign about FTD, caregiving, and taking the power back from rare disease. I had a launch party with 140 people at my house, and in a panic, 24 hours before this event, I ordered a porta potty. And being a part of the community, raising my voice, I was like, I could do more. And I called AFTD in the summer of 2012, and I spoke with Susan Dickinson on the phone, and I said, I want to be a triple threat for your organization. I know that we have a powerful story. I am a strong communicator, and I have experience in the nonprofit space. This advertisement was in the Washington Post on March 23rd of 2013, and it really was the launch of me being an advocate. The fact that I donated Mike's brain to Mass General Hospital meant that they had so much information about his case that Dr. Brad Dickerson, who's the director of the MGH FTD unit, was able to present his case at an FTD unit rounds where he invited me to be a speaker. And after that experience, I said to him, "You should hire me as a consultant." He was like, "Oh, I don't know what that means," he said. But I said, "Just do it for 6 months. I promise I'll raise more money for you than you'll spend on me, and I want to help work on your brain donation program." And he said yes. And that turned into me becoming a part-time team member, and then it turned into me being the full-time director of caregiver support services today. And through that role, thank you. It's really been an incredible partnership, and I'm so appreciative of Dr. Dickerson's vision and belief that all care doesn't happen in the clinic, and that the work that we do in our caregiver community matters. I'm so proud to have been able to contribute to raising over $2 million for our clinical research program, and I was honored through this experience to be nominated by the Association for FTD to sit on the National Alzheimer's Project Advisory Council, where I was appointed as a member by the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and then became the first non-physician co-chair, where I brought up FTD at every single meeting that I was at so that we would remember. And now the MGH FTD unit has a podcast produced by my incredible partner in crime, Amy Almeida, who is our support group leader. I started a consultancy so that I can bring my voice, the voice of lived experience, to new spaces, to talk with venture capitalists and life science companies and professional organizations, to just say what happens to families when they have an atypical or related dementia. What happens when families have a young onset dementia? Why is it different? How can you support them? And then suddenly I found that a decade had passed. And I had to except that I had been a widow longer than I had been a wife. So I took a trip to the Goosefields Wind Phone. This is a phone booth set up in Portsmouth, Rhode Island, for people who need to send words on the wind. And so I went on the 10th anniversary of Mike's passing to make a phone call, to trust that the wind would be able to bear the weight of grief and the strength of our love, to thank him for all that he had given me and inspired me to do for all of you. And when I told him all the things that I had done, I felt like, actually, I think he already knows this. But reflecting on what mattered the most to me, it was all the ways that I had included Noah in these adventures and let Noah know that his dad's life was important. I love thinking about when Noah was being interviewed by Boston Herald Radio, they said something and Noah said, actually, it's frontal temporal degeneration. And I know that this was making an impact on Noah because on his 11th birthday, I purchased him a new bike. And we went to pick up the bike. And on the ride home, he's sitting in the back seat. And he just says to me, hey, Mom, what job are you going to have when FTD is cured? Noah was worried. Not that we were going to bring the cure to life today, but that his mom would be unemployed. I assured him that there were many other jobs at Mass General. Today, caregiving continues. My dad was at home with us for 7 years. He lived in memory care for 7 years. Now he has been in skilled nursing for 2 years. And it really is a continued presence in our lives that we get to go and make new memories. We're the memory keepers for Dad. And I think that throughout this journey of being a caregiver, it really has been this ongoing love story. Something that I remember when Mike was diagnosed with FTD, the car ride home, I thought to myself, oh, it's over. I'm never gonna have another baby. I'm not gonna have a love story anymore. And what has happened over the years is that Noah and I have been embraced with so much love. My best friend, she's almost all the way on the end. She has the cute little boy standing in front of her and her husband behind her. And that family just embraced us, wrapped us right into their big Italian family. We go to every holiday with them. And feeling that love and believing and knowing and learning that the love story of my life, it wasn't Mike. The love story of my life was love everywhere. Love for my friends and family. Love with Mike, love with Noah. And love with the FTD community that has helped me heal so much. And that belief led me open to new love in my life. This is my amazing, sweet, kind, funny fiance, Greg. And oh my gosh. You guys are amazing because Greg's on the live stream and I think he's gonna like that round of applause. I bought these G hoodies as like a joke for his birthday, but much to Noah's dismay, we wear them all the time. We love it. And I think, Greg is part of the unwilling club of losing his spouse. And one of the amazing things that I couldn't have understood until really loving Greg was that loving him didn't mean that I had to change the way I loved Mike. And that was such a gift, to know that love and joy can expand. And it has expanded. Being a part of this FTD community, giving voice to our experience, it has expanded my life so much. And I think at first, caregiving, it just tried to shrink it. Like FTD wanted to call all the shots. But here we are. This picture is from our 9th gala. Amy Almeida and I are planning our 10th gala event this October. If you want to join us, just text me. And this is a place where we have been able to raise awareness, funds, and hope that the cure of tomorrow is not so far from the care of today. But I have really decided that hope is not enough for me. I have to focus on what I know. What I know is that, for me, love started the story of FTD. Love is why I'm here today. And I know that love will be the thing that ends FTD. Right? Yeah. Love of persons living with a diagnosis who donate their time and their bodies to research so that the next generation will not walk their journey. Love of caregivers who protect personhood and dignity at every stage. Love of clinicians, life science professionals, and healthcare workers who have dedicated their professional lives to unlocking the secrets that this disease is trying to keep. I know that we will bring the cure of tomorrow to the care of today. And the way that we will do it will be together. Thank you.